Hey, everybody, welcome back inside the video podcast room of the State Champs Sports Network studios on the campus of Lawrence Technological University in Southfield, Michigan. My name is Lorne Plant. The playoffs are here. Can you feel it? Who are the big winners tonight? What upsets have already occurred? There are too numerous to count. We'll get into it, I'm sure. You are tuned into another edition of Michigan Extra Point Live. No Scott Burnstein this week. He has another life, which is all about true crime, like mafia stuff and all that. He's actually working on producing a television project for Netflix that could film here in Detroit, actually. We'll let you know if that happens. I already told him I expect a role on that show. We'll see if that happens. Anyway, we have the marvelous Matt Mowery here. He was at the Division II matchup between Flushing and Walled Lake Western. We'll talk about that game in just a bit, but welcome, my man.
Thank you. Good to be here.
This is a wild night.
It is, always.
Yeah, it's true. And this first weekend of the playoffs is traditionally just chaotic. This one in particular is, I think, a little more nuts. But I just have to say first, if you're a high school football fan, we've really lost our mind around here. If you go to statechampsnetwork.com or the State Champs TV YouTube channel or the State Champs High School Sports Facebook page, we are going to total out this week's highlights at like 50 games. You heard me right, 5-0. Matt, off the top of your head, how many high school football games in the playoffs in total are being played this weekend, roughly?
Don't make me do math at this time of night.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, the 256 teams, so 129.
There you go.
Plus the 8-player, plus.
Right.
So.
But we're going to have highlights from 50 of them.
Yeah.
That's crazy, and it's never been done for us, if I'm concerned. They will start loading up those highlights as early as midnight tonight. We'll have, I believe, about 40 from tonight, about 10 from tomorrow, but don't hold me to the math. There will just be a ton. So here's what else that we have tonight, and our script is kind of changed. Our rundown's kind of changed just over the past couple of hours. Number one, we thought we were going to be able to get a couple or one Mr. Football candidate from Walled Lake Western to call in, but we weren't able to make that happen. That's okay. We also had scheduled to have Scott Merchant, the Chippewa Valley head coach, with us, but they fell to Dakota tonight, so that would not be a good idea, nor would he take the call anyway. So we do not have that. However, we will have Joe Cochran joining us, who is, if you're familiar with Macomb County High School sports, he's been doing it for decades. He's worked off and on with State Champs in several different incarnations, but he's really dialed into what's going on. He can really talk about what kind of an upset this was for Dakota. He was also at the game that I was at, which was Sterling Heights-Stevenson defeating Warren Mott for the second week in a row. So that will be fun talk, and that will be actually the conversation going into next week, because Dakota will now take on Sterling Heights-Stevenson for the district championship. And we're even going to dive a little bit into the Warren De La Salle situation. Obviously, it's the talk of everything in not a good way. And but he is, again, really, really deep into, Warren and Macomb County and all of that. So we will have him later on in the show to talk about it. Also, Alan True will have another recruit report. We'll have the latest MHSAA minute coming up. And before we get to the scores, we just got to thank our sponsors right off the gate. Without it, we wouldn't be doing a show. So Lawrence Technological University, you can recruit yourself for one of 24 sports offered here at LTU. Go to LTUathletics.com. Blue Devils take on St. Francis of Indiana tomorrow at Blue Devils Stadium. Kickoff is at noon. So if you want to see some college football here at the corner of Northwestern and 10 Mile in Southfield, join us. Hungry Howie's is also a proud partner of State Champs, famous for flavor. Go get a pie tonight, just like we will before the show is through. In fact, you haven't been able to partake in any of the pizza because you've been gone, so you will enjoy it tonight. Vote in the Hungry Howie's Mr. Football and Amble Award competitions at StateChampsNetwork.com. Check out the weekly updates on both races at StateChampsNetwork.com and on social media. The Michigan High School Athletic Association, we have a banner link at StateChampsNetwork.com that will take you directly to the MHSAA score page. That's where you go for scores. As a subscriber to MHSAA.tv, as many as 30 live playoff football games every week. I mean, the playoffs are here. You can stream them live. I think it's like $6 a month or something like that to subscribe. That's good value. All right. It's the district semifinals. Time for the scores. How we're going to do this is we still have teams in our top 25. So the way we're going to do it is I'm going to break it down as far as teams who are competing tonight that are in our top 25, how things turned out. We're going to talk about some other key games, get to some 8-player football, and of course later in the show we'll talk about tomorrow. We'll talk about tomorrow as well, but we'll also kind of talk about some of the district matches as we get through this. So always a hectic time here in the first week in the playoffs, so bear with us if things don't sound, as flawlessly as they do on the State Champs High School Sports Show Sundays at 9 at Fox Sports Detroit. But this is live. We're having fun. Let's get into it. All right. Let's start right off the bat with Chippewa Valley and Dakota. I mentioned already that Chippewa Valley fell to Dakota, and I believe they were down big early in this one. Were never able to climb out. Dakota wins this one with a 5-4 record. They beat Chip Valley, our number 3 team in the state, 34-13. Canton and West Bloomfield got together. This one went a little more according to script. We've got West Bloomfield ranked 4th. They beat them 49-14. Another upset. In fact, I think I had Oak Park in the finals. I think
we all did. Yeah.
Okay. Number 5, Oak Park, 8-1, taking on a good 7-1 Farmington team, and they lose 12-6. So go figure, Oak Park only able to gather 6 points. Credit the Falcons' defense and what they did tonight. Number 6, Lake Orion taking on Stony Creek. This could also have been a trap game. Stony Creek was playing well.
Everybody tough this year.
Everyone. They really did. They played Lake Orion tough in this one. They lost 21-14, so Lake Orion is moving on. Their season continues. Chelsea and Parma Western got together. Number 7, Chelsea. Boy, Parma Western gave them all they could. They only ended up losing 28-21, but Chelsea moves on. Our number 8 Edwardsburg team. Remember, Edwardsburg in Division 3 this season. Got to think about that. They remain undefeated. They beat St. Joseph 42-8. Walled Lake Western, the game you're at, which we'll talk about in just a minute, they beat Flushing tonight 35-7. We've got Fortson ranked 10th in the state to end the regular season. They beat Detroit Western handily 34-16. Woodhaven remains undefeated. They put up 50 on Ann Arbor Pioneer. They are now 10-0, and we've got them ranked 11th in the state. Number 12, Lapeer and Grand Blanc got together. Lapeer with a big win, 42-14. Byron Center, remember that name. They continue to roll. Number 13 in the state, they beat Spring Lake 49-14. Obviously, Groves, we have ranked 15th in the state. They did not play Warren De La Salle, so they get the 1-0 win. That's just kind of how it plays out. Rockford falls to East Kentwood. 5-4 East Kentwood beat Rockford 38-12.
A lot of these we're seeing the rematches against interdivisional opponents that they've beaten once this year.
Got lots of film.
Yeah, it's harder when you're the coach that had the win to know if you need to stick with the game plan, what changes you need to make. And if you're the team that lost that first one, obviously you can, kind of throw out that first game plan and come up with something entirely new. And we saw that with Dakota. We saw that with here with East Kentwood. And sometimes that's the hard thing, is to beat a team twice like that in a season.
No doubt about it. And Muskegon Mona Shores came into the playoffs at 5-4, took on a good Midland team, number 17 in the state, and Mona Shores wins 20-13, so they are moving on. Plymouth and Lakeland got together. This was a good matchup. We've got Plymouth ranked 19th. They win 29-13. South Lyon and Fenton. We've got South Lyon ranked 20th. Fenton, an honorable mention. This was a good game. Fenton pulls this one out 31-28. Kind of shows you that Flint Metro is a tough league, and obviously getting it done. Battle Creek, Lakeview, and Jackson got together. Lakeview, no problem, 47-8. River Rouge, no problem over Mumford, 53-0. Number 24, Portage Northern beats Portage Central tonight, 28-16. It was King and Bedford getting together and we've got King ranked tied for 25 with Romeo. They win 45-7. Romeo and Davison. This was one of those games we put out there. I had heard that Romeo was winning fairly handily. I don't know how handily is the word, but they were winning, and Davison comes back and beats Romeo 35-21. Boy, we said, is Brendan Sullivan ready to kind of take that next step? this was a big one.
Oh, yeah, and it's big for the Saginaw Valley's kind of south end of that conference because traditionally they have not fared very well in the playoffs, whether it be Lapeer or Davison or Grand Blanc.
Because they always draw such tough teams right off the bat.
They always draw the MAC Red teams or
Yeah.
the OAA Red teams, so you're getting a Clarkston or a Romeo or a Chip Valley right off the bat, and they have not done well over the last couple of years, but still those top two, Lapeer and Davison, alive in the postseason so far.
Before we get to some other scores from key games, just kind of give us a quick, take of what happened between Walled Lake Western and Flushing tonight.
Yeah, 35-7 was not even really that close. It was the 7 points that Flushing got was on a late touchdown in the fourth quarter. They broke Joe Jerusalem, their big play slot receiver, open. He out-jumped a guy for the ball and went in from 56 yards out, I think. But Western had been up 28-0 at the half, and they kind of you don't want to say that they took their foot off the gas, but they definitely were not playing with the same urgency that they were in the first half. First half, that unit just looked like it was completely in sync. I mean, they were doing almost anything they wanted to. They got a couple of touchdowns on the ground. They got a couple of touchdowns from Abdur Rahman Yassin, and Zach Trainer, as usual, was throwing the ball around the yard. I think he ended up with 241 yards passing, 20 for 32. Yassin, 7 catches for 145 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, it was just... This is what we've come to expect from this Walled Lake Western team this year.
Yeah.
Now that they're in the second year of the system and they've kind of got everything fully grasped, and now they're able to take ownership of that on the field. Talking with Coach Grignan after the game, he kind of lets Zach Trainer run that offense, and for a junior who's not played a whole lot, coming in, that's pretty heady responsibility. But looking at the results, I mean, you can tell that. And that's one of the things that Coach Grignan pointed out, very high both football IQ and classroom IQ for that team. So he kind of, that offense kind of ends up running itself, and they're going to be a tough out. And as we said, Division II is wide open. I mean, some of the teams that you may have thought were favorites coming in, the Oak Parks, the, defending De La Salle, defending champs are gone. You've got a Midland team that came into Week 9 unbeaten. They're gone. Mona Shores, now maybe one of the co-favorites. They've got a Dow team that beat up on Midland in Week 9. So it's going to be interesting to watch that D2. And kind of lurking in the weeds there is that King team that took those 2 early losses and has not really flinched since then.
Yeah, absolutely. Since we're going to be talking with Joe Cochran after the break, we'll talk about the Sterling Heights-Stevenson Warren mock game. That's our main event on State Champs this week. So, I'll save that for then. Let's get to some more scores for some other key games in the playoffs here in the first round in the state of Michigan. Brighton and Holt got together. It was Brighton winning this one 26-7. Both teams 7-2 going in this one. Good win for the Bulldogs. Utica Eisenhower shuts out Rochester Adams. I would not have called this at all. 24-0 the final in this one. So the Eagles with a big win. Detroit Cass Tech defeats Grosse Pointe South. We kind of talked about when we had our preview podcast that Cass Tech might be a little lurking giant there, the way they finished the season so well. And it seems like these guys, got in at 5-4 and are finding a way to get it done. They beat a good Blue Devil team 24-17. Midland Dow beats Traverse City Central, but had a tough go at it, 27-24 the final in that one. But bottom line is win and move on.
Went on the road up to Thurlby, and that's a good win on the road.
That is a very good win. Port Huron Northern got together again. It was Port Huron this time winning 27-21.
I believe that was in the last minute of the game.
Oh, really?
Too. And yeah, that's one of those rematches from earlier in the season too that we talked about in the preview show about weren't sure who was going to be able to play in that game health-wise, and the Big Reds get it done.
So did Zeeland West, 38-7. They beat Zeeland East. No surprise there. East Lansing falls to DeWitt, 21-13. The final on this one between a couple of 7-2 teams. Look out for DeWitt.
Yeah, DeWitt's they went to I believe the semis last
yes,
year.
They
and
did.
We kind of had early expectations for them. They took a couple of early losses. I believe, did they lose to East Lansing the first time they played?
Yes.
I think so, yeah. So that was another one that those two were kind of neck and neck in that CAAC race.
Flint Kearsley defeats Birmingham Brother Rice 20-19. The upsets continue.
It's going to stick in people's mind who Flint Kearsley is now. It's that Flint Metro last year, I think they went into the postseason thinking they might have a little bit of success, and I know they went out pretty quickly, 1-2-3, and I know I believe Brandon lost to Lakeland, and it's one where they're with the exception of Flushing, obviously, kind of got rolled over a little bit by Walled Lake Western. Goodrich went right down to the wire with Fowlerville, and so that was pretty good showing all around for the Flint Metro tonight.
Pretty amazing if you think about it, as we are just a few hours into the playoffs, and obviously there are different scenarios on why this has happened, but Orchard Lake St. Mary's is the only remaining Catholic League Central Division team.
Well,
wow.
2 MAC Red teams left, right? With Ike and Dakota.
Yeah, and Sterling Heights Stevenson.
Oh, Stevenson. Yep, you're right.
And Ike.
Yeah.
And Dakota. Yeah,
not the ones that you necessarily would thought would be alive at this point.
No doubt about it. All right, let's keep moving on. Grand Rapids Catholic Central takes care of Allendale 38-0. Sparta over Muskegon Orchard View 35-0. Notre Dame Prep takes care of North Branch 27-12. Good win for them. Country Day blanks Harper Woods Chandler Park 42-0. Country Day is undefeated. Kingsley remains undefeated. They take care of Reed City 48-36, but Reed City gave them a good game. Muskegon Oak Ridge over Grant 28-7. It was Almont taking care of Richmond 30-20, probably about how I expected that game would go, and it was a good one, I'm sure. It is Montague over Newaygo, 55-7. So Montague now 8-2. Muskegon Catholic Central falls to Ravenna, 14-0. They got blanked. Very surprising there. Niles Brandywine still check that. Constantine wins 58-8 over Niles Brandywine, so their season is over. Pewamo Westphalia will play another day. They blank North Muskegon 35-0. New Lothrop over Langsburg 47-3. Beaverton beats Byron 26-6. Jackson Lumen Christie over Homer 42-14. Flint Beecher beats Clarkston Everest Collegiate. Undefeated team going in. Beecher beats them 52-25. Reading over Mendon 38-0. Sand Creek over Addison 52-24. It was Powers North Central in 8-player over Crystal Falls Forest Park 46-28. That was a Powers North Central. We have ranked number 1 going into the playoffs. It was Pittsburgh ranked 4 57-12 over Engadine. And just a couple games that we'll be looking forward tomorrow. Muskegon and Marquette will get together for the first time ever. Belleville and Saline, the game I will be at. I'll be shooting that one. That's a 2v14 matchup. And the way this has gone, boy, the Hornets, I just would say, have as good a shot as anyone. Orchard Lake St. Mary's will take on Marysville tomorrow. North Farmington and U of D Jesuit. With Farmington winning tonight over Oak Park, we certainly could see round 2 of the Falcons and the Raiders. It was and we'll have Ortonville, Brandonville, and St. Clair tomorrow. That'll be a good game, as well as Harbor Beach and Saginaw, Michigan Lutheran Seminary. So that is just some of what's happening. We are going to take our first time out. When we come back, we are going to speak with Joe Cochran. He is a longtime Macomb area reporter. Has been, TV, newsprint, all of that. He's dialed in everything what's happening in the MAC, so we're going to get caught up and speak MAC football. That is coming up next, but this is your MHSAA Minute.
Today we'd like to talk to you about the MHSAA's Legacy Officiating Program.
The Legacy Officials Program gives high school students their first taste of officiating, helping them literally earn their stripes working junior high, middle school, and sub-varsity contests. All Legacy officials have a local sponsor, a mentor, a veteran official who helps arrange games and observes and critiques their work. Legacy officials learn about the time it takes to study, practice, improve their officiating skills, and about the time commitment their adult counterparts put into their work. The program helps them better understand the rules of the game, the role of officials, and the importance of sportsmanship.
Nice job, number 12. Thanks.
It's also not a bad way for a high school kid to earn a little money. Every year, legacy officials are honored at the MHSAA's annual Officials Awards and Alumni Banquet, where one graduating senior is awarded a modest college scholarship. Since its inception, nearly 2,000 students have taken part in the Legacy program, with between 100 and 150 participants in any given year, and we can always use more.
To learn more about the MHSAA's Legacy Officiating Program or to become a game official, visit MHSAA.com.
There's help wanted, just whistle.
I admit it. I love working with money, negotiating, and making big decisions. That's why I'm majoring in finance and economics at Lorne Tech. What's truly amazing about the education here is the small class sizes that give me easy access to my professors who truly care about my future. They even helped me get a great internship. And I was able to fulfill my lifelong dream of playing college golf. Lorne Tech, where Blue Devils dare.
The greatest honor a high school senior student athlete can earn? Detroit Athletic Club's Athlete of the Year. You're one of the tops in your sport. Prioritize education and giving back, like Cassius Winston, Megan Bobian, Rakia Jackson, and Aiden Hutchinson did. 6 male, 6 female nominees earn $1,000 in scholarship money, with $5,000 each to be awarded at a red carpet gala in downtown Detroit. Nominations accepted now. Download the application, dacathleteoftheyear.com.
Hungry Howie's wants to thank you. Yes, you, how long can I stay on this couch guy? Super Dad, who prevented birthday disaster. And the late night study group that ordered 17 pizzas. Thank you to the Holy Moly Did You See That fans. And thank you, Whole Slice and One Bite Kid. Because for every pizza sold in October, we make a donation to the National Breast Cancer Foundation. And together we've raised nearly $3 million just by doing what you love. Hungry? Howie's.
This is Alan True from 24/7 Sports with this week's State Champs Recruit Report, brought to you by My Student Aid. Purdue Boilermakers continue to do well in the state of Michigan. They've now picked up a commitment from Southfield A&T defensive tackle Bryce Austin. Austin is having a great senior season for A&T. That's after a great career where he moved from middle linebacker to defensive tackle and drew over 30 scholarship offers. The Boilers were able to beat out Penn State, Kentucky, Michigan State, and others for him. He now joins Nayland Fox and Malik Carr as the 3 Michigan natives committed to the Boilers in the 2020 class. Warren Mott Jr. defensive end Tyson Watson continues to pick up new offers. He was recently offered by Kent State and Cincinnati on a visit with the Bearcats. Watson is 6'5", 248 pounds, and has several scholarship offers going into the season already, including Iowa and Iowa State, but his play on the field has drawn new schools his way. Another of the state's top juniors is East Lansing wide receiver Andrell Anthony. He's got offers from all over the country, and many of the Midwest powers have picked up a new one recently from the Minnesota Golden Gophers. The undefeated Minnesota Golden Gophers, who have always made the state of Michigan an emphasis under head coach PJ Fleck. They're now coming out here and looking to battle Michigan, Notre Dame, Michigan State, and several other schools for Anthony, who's had an outstanding season for East Lansing. For this week's State Champs Recruit Report, I'm Alan True.
The Recruit Report is brought to you by My Student Aid, Michigan's go-to resource for student financial aid. Go to michigan.gov/MIStudentAid for more information. Hey guys, welcome back to Michigan Extra Point Live. My name is Lorne Plant, joined by Matt Mowery here. And boy, it's been a crazy night already. And you wrote it down, and I'm glad you did, because I want you to say it, because this sounds pretty unprecedented.
We will have new champions in Division 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 this year, with Chippewa Valley losing, De La Salle already out in D1 and 2. Defending champion in D3, King moved up to D2. Defending champ in D4, Edwardsburg moved up. D5, Unity Christian moved up. D6, Lumen Christi moved down. That leaves the only teams that are able to, in 11-player football, defend their champions, D7, New Lothrop, and D8, Reading.
Crazy.
It is.
It's nuts, and it just shows you some of the impact of all those 5 and 4s.
Absolutely.
Too, about why we have teams where they are. But right now, what we want to do is welcome to the show Joe Cochran. Now, if you've been a fan of State Champs for a long time, you know that Joe has periodically appeared here and there. Tom Markowski and Joe go back, decades, and he contributed to stuff we've done over the past, and we haven't caught up with him in quite some time, so we're pleased to have him join us on the phone right now because this is a big night in the MAC, and we want to celebrate that. So, Joe, thank you so much for giving us a few minutes.
It's great to be back and part of the show. Matt, Lauren, I'm so glad to be with you guys.
All right. Well, it was good to see you tonight, my man. And just kind of get everybody kind of caught up with what you're doing these days.
Well, actually, before we didn't get a chance to talk about it, I became the voice of the Lakeview Huskies. I did their home games this year.
Okay, cool.
And those games are on YouTube. And I don't know if we'll do the playoff game next week because they've got home field advantage now, since Port Huron Northern was defeated.
Right.
So they're back home. But I've been part of Lakeview Huskies, and I'm also working on some true crime outside of football.
Okay.
And of course, I have my webpage for high school sports that I'm writing about the MAC and what have you. So a pretty busy schedule, but a very lucky guy to be doing what I do.
That's right. You're always doing different stuff, and I dig that. It's very similar like what Scott Burnstein, because Scott's in that true crime world too, like you, and all kinds of good stuff going on, and you keep yourself busy. And I saw you tonight because we were at, I'd like to start with the game that we were at. Very entertaining game, being the fact that Sterling Heights-Stevenson and Warren Mott were getting together for the second week in a row. Sterling Heights-Stevenson needed a field goal late to beat Warren Mott last week. They needed that to get into the playoffs, and they came out in this one, and Warren Mott came out. He had a nice 13-0 lead. It seemed like they were dictating the play. Stevenson able to come back, a nice touchdown by the gentleman. Oh, I could just put my script away. Number 20 on the Stevenson had a really nice long run, and then they were able to go ahead and get the victory. What were your thoughts on the game? First the matchup, and then the game that we ultimately saw.
Well, I thought the matchup, and I was wrong on this one. A lot of times when you meet for the second time, you think that club, especially when he played a very close game the last time, and Mott had a pretty good regular season with some quality wins of 6-3.
Yeah,
I thought Mott would probably go in there and steal this one, and I think they lost momentum on the drive you spoke about. When Mott had a 13-0 lead, it seemed that drive Stevenson got the cut at the 13-7, changed the whole momentum, and it brought their crowd into the game. Their crowd had been silenced, if you remember, after the 13-0 lead.
Right.
They got back in the game. That was a great drive. And then I had a feeling from then on Stevenson was going to be tough to beat at home, and it turned out to be the case. We talked before the game, Lauren. We thought it would be a touchdown or less game, and that's what we got.
Yeah, Justin Newcomb doing a good job over there at Sterling Heights-Stevenson. He had the boys ready to play, and they were resilient. Number 20 was Nick Winfield, and he was just kind of making big plays all over. He had obviously the clinching touchdown at the end as well that put it away for Stevenson, but he's a talented player.
And, he really is. They've got some really nice pieces there. They just missed the playoffs a year ago. As you said, they snuck in last week with the big victory there. And you mentioned Justin Newcomb. If I could just echo what you said, this guy is a true leader. He's in the Army Reserves now, but he had a military career. And I'll tell you what, he's a class act. And I'll tell you what, it is exactly what Stevenson needed. What a shot in the arm. Getting Justin Newcomb as your head football coach.
It really was. I want to credit Warren Mott. The quarterback, James Chaney, did a nice job. Dorian Chaney had a touchdown late that brought Mott within a point. They actually went for 2 and missed it. But a very entertaining game. And, the first, and it was the first, we do have to say, it was the first playoff win for Sterling Heights-Stevenson in 10 years. So,
now that's hard to believe.
It really is, considering, the state champs era began in 2002, and then we got through the Fracassa era, which was so much excellence coming out of Sterling Heights-Stevenson. It was routine to go to games at their house and see 1,500, around the facility. But good on them to get the win. And Chippewa Valley falls to Macomb, Dakota, 34-13. Tell me you called that one.
Called it wrong.
Yes, exactly, as we all did.
I had Chip Valley about a 10-point favorite. They defeated Dakota 27-21. I believe it was in week 5. And I think Dakota knew that there was a good chance that there'd be a rematch in either a district semifinal or final. And I think they were prepared. They're in the same school district. They see each other a lot. They see each other on film a lot. And I think that they did their homework. And I think they just defensively, they just stepped up. And I think this is the shocker of the night because I had Chip Valley getting back to the final.
Oh, so did I. Yeah. No question. In fact, I believe I had them winning the state finals. Although I don't know if we called winners yet. We just called teams. Exactly. I think I had West Bloomfield playing Chip Valley in the finals. But tell us a little bit about this Dakota team. I personally have not had a chance to really see them this year, so tell us what makes them special and how they were able to pull this one off.
I think the coaching staff really pulled it together. I think they've been underestimated since Coach G left there, and I think this coaching staff pulled this team together and said, we're a lot better than our 5-4 record. I think it's the defense, though, that makes it go, and I think they're going to beat Stevenson next week, and that's not a knock on Stevenson.
Right.
You could be looking at Dakota maybe playing in a semifinal, and this is a team that went 5-4 in the red division.
Right.
They're just solid, and where they're also very solid? Special teams. They make a lot of things happen, and they get a lot of turnovers.
And Utica Eisenhower shuts out Rochester Adams 24-0 tonight. I have not seen Ike this season at all. That surprised me. I have seen Rochester Adams. They're a gritty football team.
I did have Eisenhower win this game. Of course, I'm a homer in the MAC. But Eisenhower did have a good regular season.
Yeah.
They did finish the runner-up in the MAC Red, which is no slouch.
Yeah.
And I thought they would win this game, but what I'm shocked about, Lauren, is by what they won it by, 24 points.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And shutting them out.
I know. It's crazy. Rochester Adams have played a really tough schedule this season and always found ways to put points on the board, but good for them. The MAC Red is thriving right now. We have Sterling Heights, Stevenson, Macomb, Dakota, and Utica Eisenhower all still alive in the playoffs as we go to next week. Dakota and Stevenson will get together. Eisenhower will have to take on a very solid Lake Orion team for the district championship, but if somehow they can beat Lake Orion, then we'll for sure have a MAC Red showdown for a regional championship. Or, well, actually, they're in Region 3. So, and Romeo lost, so that was the one surprise, I guess, that
surprised
that we would
me
see in there. Yeah. I really thought they would take care of Davison. Otherwise, we'd be really talking about it. But before we let you go, Joe, and this is one of the things that, obviously the talk of everything going around, and not in a good way, is the situation that's happening at Warren De La Salle. I know that you are very good friends with the coaching staff at De La Salle. I've known Mike Giannoni for so many years, and I know that everything right there right now is really in turmoil. And I know that you kind of got a nod that something was going to go down before the official reports went out. Just kind of give us your take on really the tragedy that this is turning into.
It is a tragedy. I think it's a tragedy for the community because De La Salle's really locked in here. They're right in the middle of the city of Warren at 12 and a half in Shaner. This has really not only hurt that, it's hurt the community because they've really been accepted well here in the city of Warren. But I'll tell you, I was told 48 hours, almost to the minute before, that the De La Salle football program was in serious trouble. And I thought, okay, they've lost 4 games this year, but they won 2 state championships. They're not in any trouble.
Right.
Then I heard what it was. It was with some hazing that went on. I've heard now that there's been someone had a broken wrist or arm, and we won't get into the graphic details. But this is a very, very, very sad, not only the defending state champs, but this is a sad moment. I don't know if the coaching staff or the athletic director can save their jobs. I'm really concerned that they're in serious. I don't know if they can survive this.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for everyone to keep their jobs in this one. We were talking off the air before we got on that, some of the controversies that we were talking about before the playoffs started. Yeah, there's an ethical overtone to some of the stuff with Harper Woods, Chandler Park, not playing the game, but this seems more like a moral issue. And credit to De La Salle and their administration getting out in front of this as fast as they did and not trying to sweep it under the rug and not trying to, just act as if it didn't happen and go on with their playoff lives as they normally would, and being proactive and acting as quickly as they did to shut it down. I mean, obviously there is going to be a lot of finger pointing and a lot of, soul searching probably on the De La Salle administrative side to try to see, how did we miss this? How did we not see it coming? But at least from that aspect, you have to give them kudos for having acted as quickly as they did and being as forthright as they were.
I'll agree with that 110%, and it's probably an unpopular thing with the sport fan. They say, I talked to parents today, and they said they can't believe, they had kids that are playing on this team that are seniors. They probably were not involved in this hazing incident, right. And now that their careers are over, they're not going to play at the next level. But you know what? They did the right thing. They could not play this football game.
Yes.
And they could not do it. And you know what? You're right on the money, Matt. And I know, Lauren, you agree with this.
Yeah.
And Lauren, I'm a De La Salle fan.
Yeah.
I cover them in this area. It's very hard for me to say this, but I hope people can survive. But I don't know if this coaching staff can survive. They have 20 coaches on this staff, 50 players. That's almost a coach for every 2 players.
Right.
It's a shame that somebody didn't know or couldn't bring this forward. And it's a sad day, but I do hope the program and the school do rebound from this. And we just have to have thoughts and prayers for those who were maybe hurt in this
For
incident.
sure.
Because
sure.
they're going to be scarred for life.
How this happens in 2019 is beyond me. Again, I played football, growing up, and we had some very innocent little things that maybe went on as far as, a freshman and seniors and carrying their pads and, doing that stuff. We don't know details, and we're not going to speak details because we're not going to say anything until the truth will come out and let the truth handle how that goes about. But what I do want to say is, the community for De La Salle is so very tight. If you go to any game at Wayne State, they've got tailgating. It's a huge family. They love their team, their school, their players. And which just stuns me, and you mentioning the number of coaches just enforces that, is how anything could have gone on for apparently, and again, we're just speculating here, as long as it did.
2 to 3 years they're talking, Lauren, and some of those coaches on that staff go way beyond Coach G that I've known for 2 decades since I've been doing this. They're on that staff now.
Yeah.
How nobody knew is just stunning to me, and you hit the nail right on the head. I don't know. That's why I don't know if anybody can survive, because if they didn't know, where were they?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, I know this, that the true De La Salle alumni and the fans and the people who love that school more than anything will see this through. The truth will come out. They
deserve their day in court.
Yes,
they do.
Absolutely. And the punishment, whatever it will be, should be appropriate. And we'll just see how this thing shakes out. It's really a tragedy for high school football, because it's just another kind of just nail in the torso of high school football that's already being beat up enough for its lack of safety and those things that are out there for parents and things. It just gives them another excuse. And we love the game and we want to see it thrive. And I know that Warren community is hurting right now, but the MAC Red at least is gonna kind of hold them up right now. And we're expecting some great games coming up in the next couple of weeks. And Joe Cochran, hey, man, it was good catching up with you. And
same here. And let's give a shout out to Jimmy Spark, our Coach Sparks and Clausen getting a victory tonight.
You know what? I heard that. I've been going down the list, and absolutely big win for Jimmy Sparks. Love it. Love that guy.
Love Jim. I love Coach Sparks.
Yeah, absolutely. He's the best. No doubt about it. So, fantastic. All right, Joe. Well, maybe we got your number, and maybe as we get further along here in the playoffs, we'll give you another ring and we'll talk again.
Anytime, guys. I really enjoyed it. Have a great weekend.
All right. Thanks. You too, Joe. We'll see you. All right. So
Bye-bye.
That is Joe Cochran, and we're pleased to be able to get him on Michigan Extra Point Live. That was fantastic. And, again, MAC Red rolling right now. The De La Salle situation will be dealt with as it's dealt with. You know what I mean? It's going to have its day in court, like he said. I freeze up because I don't want to say anything that is too damning because we don't know details and this kind of thing. It's just we're all human beings, though, and we're just reacting to things that we hear, and we're like what decade are we in? You know what I mean? And this is not a fraternity that we're talking about here. There's some craziness going on. This is a Catholic high school, and everybody talks nowadays, and there's social media, and if things are going on, that seems like that'd be nipped in the bud. So I don't know what's happening, and we'll see what happens. We'll just deal with it as the news comes out, and that will be that. But we've got more football to talk about on this show, so we're going to take another timeout. And when we come back, we are going to we'll take a look ahead at some of the district finals, and we'll get, of course, to some of our comments of the week. But before we do that, I do want to let you guys know that I've got to pull up my script here real quick. Sorry. We got into what we were talking about there, and I want to talk about the MHSA, and I want to talk about the health and safety that is going on in high school football. So again, forget the noise. Hear this news. Studies of high school football players from 50 to 60 years ago did not, and I repeat, not show an increased risk of neurological disorders compared to their non-playing classmates. And the game now is a lot safer than it was then. High school sports, including football, have never been safer, and sports participation is a great part of a young person's overall education. You can learn more about this at the health and safety page of the MHSAA website. This has been a message from the Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics.
You do know you want a contest to spend the whole day with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you just want to sit here and eat this delicious pizza?
We could do other things.
A little help?
That was the best day ever!
Some people will do anything for flavor. Now get a meal deal to fit any budget at the home of flavored crust.
Hungry?
The greatest honor a high school senior student athlete can earn? Detroit Athletic Club's Athlete of the Year. You're one of the tops in your sport. Prioritize education and giving back, like Cassius Winston, Megan Bobian, Rakia Jackson, and Aiden Hutchinson did. 6 male, 6 female nominees earn $1,000 in scholarship money, with $5,000 each to be awarded at a red carpet gala in downtown Detroit. Nominations accepted now. Download the application, DACAthleteoftheyear.com.
I chose Lawrence Tech for the architecture program and volleyball team. Architecture is a great fit for me because I love math and design. Now I combine them with technology to create beautiful structures. At Lawrence Tech, I didn't have to wait until my 3rd year to start designing. Our hands-on education begins right from day one. And I'm really excited about LTU's Design Center in Detroit. Lawrence Tech, where Blue Devils dare.
Oh, hey, everybody. Welcome back to Michigan Extra Point Live. I'm Lorne Plant, Matt Mowery here. We're kind of in our last segment here. Thank you for joining us this week. We thank Joe Cochran for joining us. And we're going to get into kind of what we can look ahead to the district finals. Obviously, we've got some big games tomorrow, and those are going to take care of itself. But let's talk about what we know already will be set up for next week. What are some of the ones that jump out to you?
We got a Davison-Lapeer rematch, which was a pretty good game. The last time they met came down to a blocked field goal at the end, I believe. We've got a Dakota-Stevenson rematch, and Dakota won pretty handily in Week 4, 40-14. We've got a rematch from last year when Cass Tech will meet Fordson. That will be interesting because I believe last year when we were, Cass Tech, as we talked about in the preview show, Cass Tech was a pretty handy favorite in that game, and Fordson finally got a win over Cass Tech in the playoffs. This time the roles will be a little reversed, I would think, with Cass Tech coming in 6-4. And then we've got a Seaholm Groves rematch in D2. There are going to be some good games next week. We still obviously have to see who wins tomorrow to see what exactly all of the matchups are, but Sparta, Grand Rapids, Catholic Central, both 9-1. That's a good one in D4.
In Division II, I do like the King Livonia Franklin matchup.
Yes,
I think that should be a very interesting game.
That could be a shootout. We could have a high scoring game with those two quarterbacks going at it.
And we could see a rematch with North Farmington and Farmington,
Yes.
who will do a part 2 if the Raiders are able to get by UD Jesuit tomorrow. So that could be very, very interesting. Yes, there are some good ones here. East Grand Rapids beating Loyal. East Grand Rapids is one of those teams that is always right around the playoffs. They've got that Byron Center team that we've been talking about so much. If Byron Center can take down a perennial power, as it were, like that, boy, they really feel like they can roll along. Obviously, they're going to have to take on a most likely a Muskegon team in the regional final. So, but that will be interesting. Zeeland West and Edwardsburg.
Yeah. That'll be a good one.
That'll be a good battle. I mean, Edwardsburg now is going to have tough games every game in Division III. There is no question about that.
How about a 10-0 Beaverton at 10-0 New Lothrop? Or a 10-0 Lawton at 9-1 Schoolcraft. There's some good games in the D7 level, D8.
So there's lots of good stuff that we're going to see. Flint Powers Catholic beat Williamston tonight.
Yes.
And we were talking a little bit about them in the preview podcast. Powers was one of those teams that couple tough losses, like just really tough losses to bigger schools, and but they won everything else. And we really were high on them until I saw those, and then I'm like, oh, maybe not. But Williamston was a good team coming in.
Yes.
And they took care of them 34-7. And Fowlerville got it by Goodrich in overtime, 29-28.
Went for 2 at the end to win it.
Oh.
Yeah, so yes, and that's the first win for Fowlerville in the playoffs in 13 years, I believe. It's been a while for Fowlerville, and we talked about them in the preview show too, that they started out like gangbusters this year and then kind of had petered out a little bit. It looked like maybe they'd lost a little bit of the momentum they had early in the season, and good for the Glads keeping it rolling, and that'll be a good matchup between those two.
Hudsonville Union Christian beats Otsego 61-7. They are rolling.
Yes.
We talked about that Grand Rapids Christian game tomorrow.
Yes.
But the winner of that is not going to have a cakewalk, considering what Unity Christian has done and what they've been able to do coming in. So that should be very intriguing. Whoever ends up getting Unity Christian. And obviously, if we remember what Unity Christian did last year, they surprised us all.
How about 10-0 Almont at 10-0 Marine City at East China Stadium next week? Yes.
I like that.
9-1 Lansing Catholic at 8-2 Portland. The only loss for Lansing Catholic this year at Portland.
Well, there you go. So there's going to be some really, really fun stuff that is going to be going on. Again, some good games tomorrow. Real quickly, what are some of the things that you are doing on the website, some of the stuff that you're writing right now, maybe what Scott's going on? I know he's always got the recruiting thing happening.
Yeah, we got the recruiting thing happening all season long. We've been kind of introducing people to the juniors program, where we've taken a look at a lot of the top juniors so many of the awards are geared towards seniors.
Yes.
And so what we're kind of doing is taking a look, it's almost a preview look of, well, these people might be the award winners next year, and we're looking at those early, obviously, with a couple of sports wrapping up in boys soccer tomorrow and cross country. We'll have another crop of juniors that we'll be able to talk about early in the week next week. And as you said, Scott and I always have the recruiting stuff. I just posted a blog on, kind of catching up with some of the girls basketball recruits that we've had in the last 3 weeks or so in Michigan, and we're always trying to at least keep up to date. They won't be up to the minute, but we usually kind of try to wrap things up within a couple weeks or so, and we've got that, and we've got some coverage of boys soccer tomorrow between myself and Dan Stickrat. We'll both be at Novi tomorrow watching some champions get crowned.
That's right, and hopefully it's a little warmer than it was tonight, but thankfully it wasn't what we had Thursday, so that's the way we have to count our blessings. But lots of great stuff happening at statechampsnetwork.com. Check it out. We do state championship shows for every single sport, so we'll have lengthy soccer and cross-country finals that should be premiering next Thursday on our website, YouTube, Facebook, and we'll have links out on Twitter, so make sure you go check that out. And the top junior award is really something that, we kind of put our heads together around here. Our boss was really passionate about it, about having something kind of unique. And so we'll have our all-junior team, and then we'll have our champions that we'll crown for all the fall sports sometime in early December. And that'll be really fun. So it's just one of those things that kind of stands out. And again, juniors are upperclassmen, and so oftentimes they're the best players in a lot of their sports. When they offer misters or misses in various sports, they have to choose seniors.
Right.
But oftentimes a junior could have easily won that award, so they're going to win our award. And that's how it will go down all year long. I do want to make sure I mention one more time that State Champs Sports Network will have up to 50 games of highlights for high school football this Friday and Saturday. So a ton of games will be going up beginning probably around midnight and all the way through the night. And then, of course, as you wake up, you should have a veritable plethora of football highlights to go through. We've got a busy team here working in studio, putting it all together. Remember that State Champs TV show airs on Fox Sports Detroit every Sunday at 9 a.m. We'll have about 15 games on that one. But again, where you want to get your content is at our website, on our YouTube, and on Facebook, all the socials. Check it out. That's where all the highlights are going to be. It's going to be insane. And then we'll have, again, full state championship shows for soccer and cross country beginning next Thursday. We should have those up. Sometimes they go up as early as Wednesday. So a lot of great things going on. It's time now to get to our comment of the week presented by the MHSAA. And on YouTube, we had a couple things. Burning Beard, who must have been at the game we were at because he loves Nick Wingfield, as he had a fantastic game. He'll have some good highlights. I interviewed him after the game, so that's our main event, the Stevenson-Warren Mock game. But he said Nick Wingfield is a beast. He keeps Stevenson rolling. Sterling Heights Stevenson tailback Nick Wingfield has 10 TDs in the past 3 games. Go Titans. Say thankful. I can use that in the highlights, so I appreciate that very much. Scott Podzikowski says new champs in divisions 1 through 4. And yes, we mentioned that, and it's some of it just happens to be that some teams were going up and dropping down. But yeah, we're going to have new champs in not just 1 through 4, but we're going to have new champs in a few others as well. It's 7 and 8 are the only ones that have possible repeat champs. That is crazy. I don't think that's ever happened before. And on Twitter, at Abush8 said, missed the radio show on 97.1. And we miss it too. I know. It was a really fun thing for us to do because you could hop in your car and turn it on. But soon enough, your car is going to be connected to social media and all that stuff, and you'll just be able to dial us up and pull us in. But we really enjoyed doing that program too. It was a huge labor of love, but hopefully you'll stick with us here on State Champs, and we'll keep bringing you this show and others. Again, TJ Kelly was in my office this afternoon, and we are very close to hang time going. We've got the first show, I believe, airing sometime around December 11th. The whole new adventure of State Champs as we go digital and go off of TV is going to be a total new experience for you, the fan. Our brand new app will be coming out soon that we'll be streaming. So that will be something you'll be able to just download and still watch it on TV. We'll have all the programs right there. But Hang Time is going to be evolving into a boys basketball highlight show / talk show. So it's going to be a lot of fun. TJ was telling me all the things that he's been doing and some of the great games and matchups. And I believe that Imani Bates was on Sports Illustrated.
He was.
Yes.
He was. Yeah.
So things are happening around here as far as basketball goes. But we still got a lot of football to get through. We are here through the state finals. So we're going to be talking playoff football every week. We hope that you join us. And as we close out each show, well, this is the opportunity where we thank Hungry Howie's for providing the pie. And this week we have the garlic herb crust that we are trying. So if I can just get it pulled off here. I'm at a disadvantage here. Matt has not had an opportunity to have had any pizza here because he's been doing his rivals on the road. So as we say goodbye, thank you so much, everybody, and we will see you next week.